Good morning, everyone. In our last class, we discussed about the greenhouse gases, their emissions, and their impact on global warming. In today's class, we will be discussing about what are the other major factors apart from the greenhouse gases. What are the other major factors that are actually causing responsible to global warming and for degradation of our ecological resources? So let's have a look at the pie diagram that is given in our textbook regarding the relative contributions of various greenhouse gases to total global warming. If you can see here, out of all the four major gases, we have learned that carbon dioxide and methane are majorly responsible. Out of this carbon dioxide and methane, like carbon dioxide is majorly responsible. 60% carbon dioxide is responsible, 20% methane is responsible, 14% CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons are responsible, and up to 6% nitrogen oxide is responsible. Sometimes they keep asking you, arrange the greenhouse gases in relation to their contribution, either in ascending order or to descending order. So if the question is arrange the greenhouse gases in descending order, in relation to their contribution to global warming. This is how you're supposed to arrange. The major contribution is by carbon dioxide. Next to that is methane, and CFC is up to 14%, and nitrogen oxide is up to 6%. And out of all these four, what are the two major greenhouse gases that contributes for global warming? As it is carbon dioxide and methane. Now, so if the greenhouse gas emissions are leading to global warming, what measures you can really take in order to prevent, if not prevention, to control the global warming. So if you can see here, the majorly highlighted ones, the first one is cutting down the use of fossil fuels. So friends, we have already learned that fossil fuels that we use for automobile industry and other industries is the major source for emissions of these greenhouse gases. So we are supposed to search for alternate fuels, because one reason is fossil fuels are becoming exhausted. The rate at which we are using is not matching with the rate at which they can be formed. It takes millions of thousands and millions of years for formation of fossil fuels, but we are consuming it at a very faster rate. Maybe within the coming 25 years, all the fossil fuel reserves can be exhausted. So we have to search for alternate source of fuel. That is one reason. And the second important reason is fossil fuels are majorly responsible for pollution. And so we have to search for other alternate sources, right? And the next one is improving efficiency of energy usage. So whatever energy source we are using, we are supposed to use them judiciously. So our lifestyle is completely energy driven, as you all know. Right from morning to night, we continuously depend on electricity, then LPG, this fossil fuels for automobiles to run automobiles. Everything is energy dependent. So how judiciously we use this energy is highly important. We need to focus on that as well. And the next one is reduction of deforestation. So the rate at which the trees are being cut, deforestation is cutting off the trees and clearing the forests for whatever reason. It might be to make human habitations. It can be for cultivation of land, or it can be for dams or industries. For whatever reason it is, we are supposed to find out some other way, but not to cut a forest. We have to reduce the rate at which deforestation is taking place. Then planting trees. So one way we have to reduce the rate of deforestation, and on the other side we have to increase the rate of reforestation, planting trees. And out of all these, last but not the least, the most important factor, you have to see that the growth of human population is slowed down. So whenever, due to the exploding human populations only, there is a lot of pressure on the natural resources, and that is leading to water crisis, food crisis, energy crisis, whatnot. So it is highly essential for us to focus on slowing down of the growth of human population. So all these are the important measures that can help to control the global warming to an extent. And in this regard, so many international initiatives are being taken in order to discuss about how to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, what measures we can take, right? So let us have a look at what are the alternate sources that are available if we have to control the use of fossil fuels. So if we can simply say that we have to stop using fossil fuel or reduce fossil fuels, it's not really possible, right? So we need to search for an alternate, energy source. So there is a lot of search and research taking place in order which can replace the fossil fuels one fine day. So if you can see here, the alternate renewable sources of energy, the first place goes to solar energy, tapping of solar energy, which is freely available. So here you can see the image of a solar farm where the solar energy is being tapped. Solar energy has a great future, except for that the initial investment costs are a little higher. But still, even at domestic front, if we can imagine that our energy bills, we will be free of paying electricity bill. Once, suppose a household, an average house requires with 4 to 6 members, it takes 2 to 3 lakhs of rupees for the investment of solar cells or solar panels. But when you compare with the energy bills that we pay per annum, so the investment is really justified. So initial investment wise, it's a little higher, but still energy bills, when you compare with the energy bills that we are paying today, it's really worth. So solar energy will take the first place, and the second place can be given to nuclear power. So nuclear power is a clean power on which we can rely, but the matter of fact, we can say that the amount of the number of nuclear plants that we can establish is really less. And the threat lying with nuclear power is that by chance, if there is any accident happening in the nuclear power plant, the whole surroundings will become unsuitable for inhabitation. So keeping that in view, though nuclear power plants can generate clean fuel, they are hailed as source of clean fuel. In a long run, because of their threat for accident prone and other things, they are not really recommended these days. And apart from this, you can have the windmills. Windmills, of course, from a very long back we have been using, but still you can still increase the rate at which we are using these windmills. Then biofuels. So for the past 1.5 decades, lot of focus is there on creating the biofuels. Crops like corn, sugarcane, then canola, all these are the food crops actually. But these food crops are also rich with they can produce a lot of starchy materials, and these starchy materials are utilized for fermentation, and that is how the ethanol biofuel can be created. And Brazil is the nation that is the first one to use this bioethanol as biofuel in combination with the regular petrol. So these are the promising future alternate resources, renewable resources that are having viability to replace the traditional fossil fuels. Apart from this, you have hydrogen cells, you have many other things coming up, but in general, they should be efficient. At the same time, they should be cost effective. Only then they will be really successful. And the next important measure, one is to cut down the fossil fuels. The next important measure is to reduce the deforestation. So if you travel across 100 meters, 100 kilometers from one town to another town, you will definitely come across one such place where the trees are being cut. So here, this is how the forest is being destroyed, deforestation. So these are common sites for us. So reduce the deforestation and increase the reforestation, that is plantation. So wherever there is, encourage the reforestation. So we should be able to do plantation. Plantation should be part of our culture, right? Now, apart from this, what all measures you can take? Reduction in the population. This is very, very essential, dear friends. So a country like India, if I have to tell you, a country like India is known as a developing country. The major hindrance for our country to become a developed country is our growing population. Exploding populations is one major reason why we are unable to become a developed nation. If you know, my parents, when they studied, they have learned about a country as a developing nation. I studied our nation as a developing nation. Today, my children are also still learning India as a developing nation. So when are we going to shift from this developing to developed nation? The central question. So the secret lies in control of the exploding human population. Not only our country, most of the third world countries are suffering with overpopulation. So if you know, very recently we have celebrated the World Population Day. And according the World Population Day falls on 11th July every year. And according to today's statistics, the world population, we are nearing to 8 billions. Okay. So it is this exploding population that will actually lead to all the crisis, actually led to the crisis that we are facing today. Food crisis, water crisis, energy crisis, environmental crisis, everything is due to overpopulation. So look at this cartoon. The earth is crying. I'm already 7 billion. I'm already occupied. I have no space. I'm exhausted. So here, friends, I would like to share with you some interesting statistics related to human population. You can see this graph. This graph shows that until very recently, the population was quite, stable. Over the past 2 centuries, the population growth exploded. That means industrialization led to betterment of the living standards, and that is how the population has exploded, human population. So I want to share with you certain interesting statistics related to this human population growth. So the dawn of agriculture. By the time humans started settling down and we started agriculture, the human population, the world population was at 5 millions approximately. This was just an estimate. There was no authentic, no system was in place that time to really count the population and all, but still roughly when we started agriculture and human settlements, we started at 5 millions. Now from 5 millions by up to 1 AD after death, we became 200 millions. That means once humans left the nomadic life and started settling at riverbanks and civilizations ushered, our population has grown from 5 million to 200 millions. And by 1800s, the world population reached to 1 billion. Industrial era. With the dawn of the industrial era, there is tremendous change in the numbers. By 1930, that means 130 years, 1800 to 1930, the population doubled. 1 billion, say, we became 2 billions. And from 1930 to 1960, 2 billions became 3 billions. By 1974, 3 became 4 billions. That means 1930 to 1974. Within a span of 30 to 35 years, the population is doubled. So if you can see here, initially it took 130 years to double the population, 1 billion to become 2 billions. And later, for 2 billions to become 4 billions, it just took 30 or to 35 years. And the 4 billions now became 8 billions, 74 to 2000. So these 4 billions, it took almost 40 years. Okay. So here you can see the 4 billions became by 1987, 5 billions. And by 2011, we became 7 billions. That means there is a little slowdown in the population, probably. And currently we are at 8 billions roughly. Only during the 20th century, we grew from 1.6 billions to 6 billions. So we are at 1.6 billions at the start of 20th century, 1900s शुरुआत में. But by the end of the 20th century, we reached to 6 billions. Can you just imagine the rate at which population is growing? In 1970, our population was roughly half of the current population. 1970s May, it was half of the current population. Now, we are almost at 8 billions. That means it took 30 to 40 years for doubling of population. But there is also good news here. Now there is a decline in the growth trend. That means the rate of population growth was not really as fast that happened in 1970s and 1980s. So currently this 8 billion to become double, it cannot reach 16 billions by next 30 years or 40 years, but it will take 200 years to double the population. But whatever it is, 8 billions itself is too big number. So these are the measures you can take roughly: cutting off the fossil fuels, then giving focus on reforestation, reduction of deforestation, and efficient management, efficient usage of energy resources. Now, apart from this, degradation of the environment by improper resource utilization and maintenance. This is another important aspect. Degradation by improper resource utilization and maintenance. Natural resources are degraded not only by pollution, but also due to improper resource utilization practices. That means when we are not using our resources in a better way, in a sustainable way, naturally the degradation takes place in the environment. One major reason is soil erosion and desertification. Soil erosion and desertification. So we all know the topsoil is the loose soil that is fertile in nature, and it takes some centuries for the formation of this topsoil. But this topsoil can be eroded, it can be swept away due to human activities like overcultivation, unrestricted grazing, deforestation, and poor irrigation practices. See, what we are doing is we are removing all the plantation in that given area, and we are trying to grow crops. When we are trying to grow crops all the time, whenever it rains, all the topsoil might be washed away from a cropland. That means whenever there is crop, when a plantation is there, nothing will happen. But after you remove the plantation, the gap will be there between two crops. During that time, if it rains, all the topsoil that carries nutrients will be washed away. That is one reason. Apart from this, continuously cultivating crops in that area leads to degradation. It will lead to damage to the ecosystems. Naturally growing varieties will be damaged. And unrestricted grazing. So the cattle and all, unrestricted grazing will also lead to, that means the rate at which grazing is taking place doesn't match with the rate at which the grass or something can be formed, right? So we have to remember that grass, plants and trees are food for us, but they are shelter for so many insects, animals and other so many things. And deforestation and poor irrigation practices. Irrigation practices, here I would like to highlight something. Irrigation practices is the methods in which we supply water for crops. So when you're supplying water for crops, if we have poor drainage facilities, all the water that is clogging will bring all the salts onto the surface. And whenever you are releasing all the water, all the nutrients will be washed out along with water, right? Next, all these practices, overcultivation, unrestricted grazing, deforestation, and poor irrigation practices, they lead to formation of arid patches of land. That means in a fertile land, here and there, dry areas will develop initially. When these dry areas, when they expand in size, slowly the whole area becomes dried up and it leads to desertification. You know how a desert is formed? Initially, in a small piece of land, Desert will not be formed all of a sudden. Suppose if this is one area, initially here and there small patches, dry patches will appear like this. And after a while, this dry patch, the radius of the dry patch will increase like this. And slowly what happens is the gaps will be reduced and this whole area becomes a desert or a dry patch like this. Initially it starts as small patches here and there, but later the whole land becomes barren, right? So apart from the basic greenhouse gas emissions and global warming, desertification is one major problem. It's an international problem, if I have to say. Desertification is an international problem, especially in the urban areas. So wherever there is development of so-called cities and towns, patches of dry areas are on a rise, increase. And next one is water logging conditions. What is this water logging conditions and salinity? As I told you, whenever a farmer supplies water for crops, the water should be properly drained. If the water gets clogged due to water logging conditions, all the salts that are present under the layers of earth, all the salts, they become dissolved in water and they come up to the surface. So here the water logging conditions will improve the dissolution of the salts and other nutrients which are present in the layers of the earth. Now all these salts will come up along with the water. Now once the water gets dried up, if the water is not properly drained, all the water will dry up, it will evaporate, and all the salts, as a result, all the salts will remain on the top, and that gives salinity to the soil. This is quite common. It has become quite common in cultivable lands. So whenever there is irrigation, that is supply of water without proper drainage facility, water gets logged in the soil and it dissolves all the excess salts from the earth's surface, earth's layers, and water eventually will evaporate, leaving all the salts like a layer on the topsoil. That leads to soil salinity. Now this soil salinity makes the land not suitable for any kind of crop growth. So such saline lands are not suitable for growth of any kind of plants. So this kind of problems started coming up mostly in the wake of Green Revolution. Okay, what is Green Revolution? You will be learning in the other lessons. So here you can see this is desertification. It's an ongoing process. Desertification under progress. So arid patches of land. Erosion, soil erosion. Now here I would like to show you one satellite image that is showing about the clearance of the Amazon forest. You can see here, this is the satellite image taken that shows the rate at which the Amazon forest is being cleared from time to time. Deforestation. What is deforestation? Deforestation is conversion of the forested area into non-forested area. What are the reasons for deforestation? There can be many reasons: for human settlement, for cultivation, for industrialization, or for building a dam. Whatever might be the reason, deforestation is conversion of forested area to non-forested area. So here there are certain figures which you are supposed to remember. According to an estimate, almost 40% of the forest have been lost in the tropics when compared to 1% in the temperate regions. So remember children, 40%, the loss of forests in tropical areas is much higher than the temperate regions means colder areas. Colder areas may the rate at which forest is lost is 1%, but in warmer areas it is up to 40%. Especially in a country like India, the deforestation is happening at a very faster rate, and the situation is grim in our country. At the beginning of the 20th century, forest covered about 30% of the land in our country. So this is the statistical data related to our country. Carefully, you have to remember it. 30% of our lands are covered with forests. But by the end of this century, the forest cover is reduced to 19.4%. That means more than 10% of the forest cover of our country is lost just within 100 years. The National Forest Policy in 1988, National Forest Policy, NFP, has recommended 33% forest cover in plains and 67% forest cover for hills. All these are the statistical figures which you are supposed to remember, children. Keep that in mind. So, at the start of the century, the forest cover of a country was 30% of the total land, but by the end of the century, it shrunk to 19.4%. According to the forest policy, National Forest Policy recommendations, all the plain areas should have 33% of forest cover, and all the hilly areas should have for 67% of the forest cover. So how does deforestation occur? Majorly, it is the human activities responsible for deforestation. One of the major reasons is conversion of forest to agricultural land in order to feed the growing human population. You can see here the major reason for conversion of the forest to agricultural land. It is the major reason because we want to feed the growing human population. The next one is trees are axed for timber, firewood, cattle ranching, and for several other purposes. We all know what not in every area we have a usage of wood, timber, firewood, cattle ranching, etc. So for all these purposes, we are cutting off the trees. Now, another major reason in the northeast states is slash and burn agriculture, commonly called as zoom cultivation. Remember, in different states, we call it with different names. Zoom cultivation, otherwise called as slash and burn irrigation. This is specifically predominantly seen in northeast states and in other states where you have tribal people. So basically, these people, they don't have a particular settlement. They keep wandering in the forests. Every now and then they keep changing places from one place in the forest to other place. So in that process, the farmers will cut down the trees of the forest and burn the plant remains. After burning, the ash is used as a fertilizer and the land is used for farming or cattle grazing. So what these people will do is, in a forest, they settle at one place and they will cut all the trees surrounding them and they burn all the remaining dried up trees and they use that ash as a fertilizer. And after cutting this land, they will use it for either farming or cattle grazing. And after a while, after cultivation is done, after a few years, this area is left for and they will go for some other place. And this area will recover on its own. This is what used to happen until very recently. Now the farmers will move to another area and they repeat the process. In earlier days, when zoom cultivation was in prevalence, there was enough time gap in order for the recovery of the given land. But with the increasing population, repeated cultivation, the recovery phase is done away and the result is deforestation. So you must have understood, very simple. They cut the trees and they convert it into cultivable land. After some time, they will leave that place and they go to another place in the forest and again they will repeat the same process. That is called as zoom cultivation. But in this process, what is happening is enough time should be given. After usage of this, enough time should be given for this land to recover, to again for the growth of trees and plants. But now Enough time was not given and repeatedly it is being cultivated. As a result, it is leading to deforestation. You can see the whole hilly area, the thing is all cleared and there is no growth again. So Zoom cultivation is of northeastern states is one major reason for deforestation. So what happens when there is excessive deforestation? One of the major effects is enhanced carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere. As we all know, plants are able to absorb a lot of carbon dioxide. So we call the trees and plants as sinks of carbon. So the plant or the tree that is able to absorb enough carbon dioxide and helping us to reduce the CO2 in the atmosphere. Now, when such plants are being cut, there will be no one to absorb the carbon dioxide, and that is how the CO2 levels in atmosphere will increase. That is one major consequence of deforestation. What happens if CO2 levels increase? It will lead to warming up of the globe. Now, apart from global warming, apart from increase in CO2 concentrations, deforestation also causes loss of biodiversity due to habitat loss. That means whenever you cut a forest, you are removing the shelter, you are destroying the shelter for thousands of species. And that is how these species, they have no home, they are left without any shelter, and eventually they become extinct. That is how we are losing the different varieties of organisms, loss of biodiversity, destruction, and it disturbs the hydrological cycle. So the hydrological cycle is also disturbed, and because of the barren land, it leads to soil erosion, and it may also lead to desertification in extreme conditions. Today's forest can become tomorrow's desert. The situation is so grim. All these are the effects of deforestation. If you have to enumerate, list out the effects of deforestation, means deforestation ki wajah se, first thing, carbon dioxide levels will increase, loss of biodiversity due to habitat loss, destruction, and disturbance to hydrological cycle, causes soil erosion, and it may also lead to desertification in future. So what can you do in order to counteract the desertification? You have to go for reforestation. Reforestation is a process of restoring a forest that once existed but was removed at some point of time due to some reason. Reforestation may occur naturally in a deforested area. However, we can speed it up by planting trees with due consideration to biodiversity that earlier existed in that area. So, whenever you cut the tree, naturally nature has its own ways. It will try to recover. A new forest can be grown, but it may take its own time. So in order to speeden up the recovery process, you can actually go and plant trees. But we have to see that we are going to plant the native varieties there, which we have already seen. So reforestation can be one solution for this issue. Okay. That's all for the day. Thank you so much.